this is Mrs. Lorenzo, and in this picture, it is also our family dog. His name is Soho. Now you're probably wondering, why does Miss Lorenzo have her dog in a picture? Well, today I am going to share with you artists and the way they create texture, and a lot of the pictures have animals in them. So the first thing I want you to notice in this picture is Soho's fur. Around his face, the fur is very short and it's very smooth. And then around his chest and his body, the fur becomes longer and fluffier. That's called texture. So we'll learn all about that today and how artists recreate it. So if you haven't guessed, yes, we are still covering the elements of art, and today's subject is texture. To review, the elements of art is the language of art. It's how we describe and create art. So far, we have covered lines, shapes, and color, and how artists use them. Texture is how a surface of something feels or looks. Like the softness of flowers, or a hard, rough surface of rocks, or the flow of a river, or the grittiness of the sand. And texture comes with a fluffy teddy bear. And this sculpture of a horse has a lot of different textures. It's made from clay, which is wet, gritty, smooth, and rough. Now let's look at the basket of fruit. I've circled all the different textures in this one photograph. There is the texture of the placemat, the basket, the smoothness of the apple and grapes, and then there's the texture of the orange and lemon. And don't forget the granite counter, the smoothness of the countertop. Now that we've explored what texture is and how it's all around us, let's see how artists recreate that texture in their artwork. This is author-illustrator Eric Carle. He is most famous for his book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Since we are talking about texture today, look along the top of the caterpillar. Do you see those tiny little lines? Repetition, over and over again, the same thing. The tiny little lines are showing the fuzz of the caterpillar. This is one way that artists create texture. So Eric Carle has created many books. So we'll take a look at a few. Did you also know that he has his own museum? And it's in Amherst, Massachusetts. Eric Carle not only does the illustrations, the pictures for all his books, but he also writes the stories. Many of his books and illustrations are about animals. Today we're studying texture. I want you to look closely at the animals' textures. Notice the shapes that Eric Carle uses to create his animals. Then he adds lines and color, and as he puts it all together, he comes out with some beautiful textures of fur. And look at this colorful seahorse. Eric Carle uses simple shapes again and adds lines and blotches of color to give you the scales of the seahorse. And now look at his lion. Notice the simple shapes he uses to create the face and all the texture of the fur and the mane of the lion. He uses a technique called collage. Collage uses many different types of materials. Here he uses painted papers, and then he cuts out the shapes and lays them on top of each other. He adds details with crayons, markers, colored pencils, all kinds of things. This technique is called collage. If you'd like to learn more about Eric Carle and his artwork and books, you can visit the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art or go to his website, eric-carle.com. Now it's time to draw. For today's art materials, you will need a pencil and a white piece of paper. The first thing you want to do is create 4 squares or rectangles on your paper. Now you can use a ruler or you can just fold the paper in half, horizontally and vertically. Whatever works best for you. So today we're going to fill our paper with texture. We broke it into 4 blocks so that you can come up with 4 different textures. So we'll start with the top block. Notice I've drawn a zigzag line. When you repeat lines over and over again, repetition it's called, it creates texture. This is also creating a pattern of zigzag lines. Now, if you notice, as the lines are separated or they get closer together, it changes the look of the design, the look of the pattern, and the look of the texture. I will fast forward so you can see the end results. Now we'll move on to the next one. We're going to do a wavy line or a bumpy line, whatever you'd like to call it. Remember, repetition going over and over creates a pattern of texture. Where would you see a wavy line like this? Maybe in water. And now we go on to the third block. Now remember, you can copy mine or you can create your own designs. Here I'm doing lines. They're straight, but they're at an angle. As the lines keep repeating themselves, they go closer together. It changes up the design. Notice they're also becoming a little curvier, not as straight as they started out. As I fast forward it, notice how the pattern changes, the texture changes as the lines get closer together. And for the last block, I'll use dotted lines. As I'm doing the dotted lines, I'm also adding them in a curvy way. This change of direction also affects the pattern of the texture. Remember, we're creating lots of different types of texture. Each block should create something different. Now it's going to be your turn. You can copy mine or create your own ideas. You'll start with creating texture from lines. Have fun with this. If you have time today, you can do texture with color. You could even mix up colors and make patterns of color. You'll be surprised how color changes up the texture as well. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed learning all about texture and the author-illustrator Eric Carle. Till next time, bye.